Good morning, everybody. This is Tim, one half of Horror Movie Yearbook, here with your horror hotline for July 25th, 2018. How's it going, everybody? Hope everything's going all right. Uh, we are going to we're going to talk a little bit of Halloween today. I haven't talked too much. We talk about it all the time on the main show. I want to talk a little bit about it today because there's a couple Halloween franchise related news bits out there today, so I want to cover them. Make sure we just recorded our newest episode last night on the Mark Wahlberg, Reese Witherspoon 1996 movie Fear. Fear is quite a movie. We break it down. We break down the plot of Fear. We just kind of go through, run through it. We also talk a lot of Comic-Con. The first half of the episode is Willie and I kind of just going over everything horror related at Comic-Con. So Willie is a huge Godzilla fan. He can tell you all about it. And he does. So good episode, a little longer, a little bit on the longer side, but a good episode. Looking forward to dropping it on Friday. But let's get into the news. We'll start with Bloody Disgusting ran over at bloodydisgusting.com. They ran looks like a snippet of the Halloween panel from this past weekend, San Diego Comic-Con. Their own Raphael Montemayor was on hand, and he relayed what he had to say. From David Gordon, this is David Gordon Green, the director, talking about John Carpenter's new Halloween score. Gordon Green says, "We used the original theme by John as the foundation of this movie. He's composing with his son Cody and Daniel Davies as we speak. So far, it's fun to be able to figure out when do you want the iconic music and when do you want the fresh and inventive music." He added, "The score also has a bit of Christine and Big Trouble in Little China in it." That is an interesting comment. It's different than you might expect a Halloween score to go. I'm trying to read into that. It's almost like he's messing, because those are two different themes. Christine is more in line, I think, with kind of like a horror synth type score. Big Trouble in Little China has a lot of rock elements, that theme, and I'm not just talking about the Coupe de Ville song, but the theme itself has a lot of rock elements. They're two very different main themes, so I'm very interested to see, especially taking into account his comment that we're getting a blend of classic and new music. When do you want the iconic music and when do you want the fresh and inventive music? Willie and I talk a little bit on the podcast. I'm all for some different elements to the score, but I really do want those. I want that main Halloween theme. I want the stalking theme. I really do want those main Halloween themes, those kind of basic things, and I think that's probably what we're gonna get. I think we're gonna get those when we need to. I think this whole movie is gonna be kind of a mixture of fresh and inventive and callbacks to the original, and I am all for it. I really enjoyed John Carpenter's late career passion for music. It kind of felt like he had lost in some ways after watching The Ward and Pro-Life and some of his other later work and just reading some of his interviews. It seems like Carpenter had just kind of lost his passion for filmmaking. Whether or not he had, that's only something he can answer. But those last couple movies, I mean, The Ward he could have directed from his trailer. There are very few Carpenter trademarks, if any, in that film. And this is kind of what I've always wanted when I heard he was attached. I know he's gonna have a heavy hand in producing it as well, as what they've said. I'm more interested at this point from hearing from Carpenter's score work. I think this may have been... Carpenter's always wanted to be a rock star, and I'm not sure if music hasn't always been his real passion. And he's a great musician. His last he's put out two albums with his son Cody and his godson. And their band, he's done it under the John Carpenter name, but they're called Lost Themes 1 and 2, and they are phenomenal records. They're all instrumental. They're basically movie scores for movies that don't exist, and there's some really great work. It's some of the best work of his career, I think, music wise, on those two albums. And if you ever get a chance to see him live and in concert, do it. The live experience with Carpenter, it's when we went to the Masonic Temple in Detroit, and they put a screen up behind Carpenter and they played clips from his old movies while he played the themes from those songs, and it was such an amazing experience. If you ever, like I said, if you ever get a chance to see Carpenter live playing his music, do it, because it's totally worth it. The other little tidbit, Halloween movie score related wise, Mondo is bringing remasters of the first 5 Halloween franchises, their scores to vinyl. They're going to start with Halloween 4 and 5. This is from the Mondo website. Hey everyone, as we're sure you know, this year marks the 40th anniversary of the original Halloween. To celebrate this milestone, we're releasing the first 5 Halloween scores, and we are giving you a free slipcase to house them in. We're kicking things off this week with our long-awaited reissues of Halloween 4 and Halloween 5, and we'll be continuing with one release a month, concluding this October with the original John Carpenter score to the 1978 classic that started it all. The audio for these releases have been remastered, and the previously released vinyl versions of Halloween 2 and Halloween 3 will feature all new artwork as well. I took a look at, they've released the artwork for 4 and 5, done by, the original artwork is done by, 5 is done by Gary Pullen, and 4 is done by Randy Ortiz. They are both really well done. I particularly love that 4 artwork, though. The 4 artwork has looks like the Myers house inside of Myers' chest. It's a really cool cover. These are probably not my 2 favorite Halloween scores. 4 is very traditional in the way that it harkens back to the original score. 5 is a little different. 5 is a very busy main theme, if I recall correctly. I'm not crazy about either of these scores. My favorites, well, I'm going to rank them here for you. These are my favorite main themes from the Halloween series. Of course, up top, you have to start with number 1, the Halloween theme. I'm not going to be controversial there. It's perfect. Then I'm going to go number 3, Halloween 3, and I'm putting Chariots of Pumpkin in as the main theme. So that might be cheating because I know 3 is actually my second favorite. I think it's cool. I think it's, it feels like, to me, it feels like Halloween, kind of like the 80s. Number 3, I have H2O. I love that score from H2O. It's big, it's orchestral, it's gothic, it's epic. It goes on a little bit too long, but it's very gutsy in the way it presents the Halloween theme, and I love it for doing what it does. Number two is a classic. Part 2, it goes very heavy on the synth, but part 2 is a really good score. It's a lot of people's second favorite, or maybe even favorite scores. After number 2, I've got 6. I've got part 6. Part 6 is wild. The main theme for part 6 is wild. There's a ton of guitar. It almost has a bit of part 3's theme in it. It's like the most danceable Halloween main theme. Then I've got number 4. It's pretty straightforward. It's kind of a back to basics theme. Then I've got the Zombie 1 and Zombie 2 themes. I've got back to back here. You can flip them however you want. They're pretty much the same theme. They're a kind of a faster version of that main theme from the original, but part 1 throws in a lot more spooky noises and like moaning and industrial sounds in the background. It is exactly what you would want. It's Tyler Bate, but it's exactly what you would want for a Rob Zombie Halloween movie. And I'll leave it at that. After that, it's Resurrection. Resurrection hits those bum 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 boom, those notes really hard. It's okay. It's straightforward. It's good. And then my least favorite one is number 5. Number 5. It's got like a distorted sound to it. It's just not anything memorable. I barely remember part 5 score. So, hey, but if you're a completist, for sure, check it out. Or if you love it, just check it out. Mondo's going to be releasing those vinyls. But there you go. There's my official Halloween theme rankings. This could change at any point. And honestly, I wouldn't care if it did. So, yeah, let's move on from Halloween. Just a couple of quick news bits here. Netflix acquires the movie Cam. This is from Variety. Reported on this, Variety exclusive. Cam was one of the big winners at the Fantasia Fest this past week. It took home awards for Best First Feature and Best Screenplay, both for Daniel Goldhaber. This is going to be another Blumhouse movie. Goldhaber co-wrote it with Isabel Link-Levy and Issa Mizai. They helped him write the script. This is a horror movie. It is a technology-driven thriller set in the world of webcam porn. It follows Alice, an ambitious cam girl who wakes up one day to discover she's been replaced on her show with an exact replica of herself. As this copy begins to push the boundaries of Alice's internet identity, the control that Alice has over her life and the men in it vanishes. While she struggles to regain what she's lost, she slowly finds herself drawn back to her show and to the mysterious person who has taken her place. I think that's a very intriguing concept. I'm looking forward to that. Netflix, their Variety did not have a release date for it. I'll keep an eye on it. But cool sounding movie, and apparently very well received at Fantasia Fest. And then over on Twitter, Shudder, I'm just playing catch up on this one. A couple days announced that Joe Bob Briggs is going to be back this year. Joe Bob, of course, just hosted that horror movie marathon, I believe a couple of weekends ago. I'm still catching up on that. They didn't have a date set for it. They said later this year. The obvious bet here would be probably Halloween, I think is what they're thinking, but I would love to see them do something a little different here. Halloween is the kind of the obvious one. I would love to maybe even see something around Christmas time, or even, gosh, New Year's would be a blast if they did it on New Year's night. I don't go out on New Year's anymore. I'm getting very old. But the other one I would love to see is Thanksgiving. I would love to see a Joe Bob kind of like family Thanksgiving themed marathon. And they have Blood Rage on Shudder, so you can always top it off with that. Maybe at some point I will get I'll get what I want to see. I'll pick some movies out from Shudder to see what I want to see in the next Joe Bob marathon. But still catching up on the first one. I think they did a fantastic job. I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's great for Shudder. I think Shudder's a great service. Blah, blah, blah. I don't want this turned into another advertisement for the Shudder service. But it's great. If you're a horror fan, you should check it out. That's it for today. I'm going to move on. Make sure to check out our other shows. We got the Midwest Game Nerds. We have the Gone to Texas podcast. We have Westworld podcast. I'm forgetting one. Oh, the Alienist podcast, if you're catching up on that. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/MidwestPodnet. Patreon.com/MidwestPodnet. You can donate to our Patreon for as little as $1 a month. We appreciate it. We appreciate you not donating and just listening. That's great too. Thank you very much for doing so. I'll be back. I'll probably be back tomorrow. We'll see what we got in the news. At some point, I want to do a Fantasia Fest wrap-up. I got to check and see how things are going there. Keep up on the news. That's it for today. Have a good one.